Today, a startling claim is making waves that U.S. President Donald Trump is secretly positioning himself and the U.S. government to control Canada's mining future. It sounds explosive, almost like a political thriller, but how much of it is reality and how much is speculation? Let's unpack what we know and what remains unanswered. In October 2025, the U.S. announced a $35.6 million investment in Trilogy Metals, a Canadian mining company tied to the Ambler mining district in Alaska. With this deal, the U.S. gained a 10% equity stake, along with warrants to potentially acquire another 7.5%. Markets reacted immediately. Trilogy's shares surged after the announcement, signaling that investors see serious value in this move. On the surface, it's just a minority stake. But the bigger picture is where the controversy starts. This investment is directly linked to Trump's revival of a long-debated access road through Alaska's wilderness, a 211-mile corridor designed to reach the mineral-rich Ambler district. Copper, zinc, cobalt, and other strategic metals lie waiting. Under the Biden administration, environmental and indigenous concerns had blocked the project. Trump's executive order changed all that, clearing the path for development. Some observers see this as a strategic maneuver. The U.S., facing global competition, particularly from China, is positioning itself to secure a domestic supply of critical minerals. Others, however, raise the alarm. Could these moves signal the first steps toward U.S. influence over Canadian mining assets? The story doesn't stop with Trilogy Metals. The U.S. Department of Energy has reportedly taken a 5% equity stake in Lithium Americas, a Vancouver-headquartered firm developing lithium deposits in Nevada. Even though the project is largely U.S.-based, the fact that the U.S. government is taking a stake in a Canadian-linked company is being called unprecedented by legal analysts. Canadian officials, led by President Mark Carney, have emphasized that every foreign investment will be reviewed under the Investment Canada Act, which safeguards national economic sovereignty and security. Yet, so far, no public action has been taken to block these deals. And that's where the questions multiply. Could a 10% stake, combined with warrants and strategic permits, give the U.S. leverage beyond what is immediately obvious? Shareholder agreements, board seats, voting rights, these details remain opaque. Industry insiders whisper about backroom influence and unseen leverage, but so far, nothing is confirmed. There are also broader strategic implications. Canada's resource sovereignty is a cornerstone of national policy. If U.S. interests start shaping decisions on projects inside Canada, what does that mean for control over copper, cobalt, zinc, lithium, and other critical metals? Some analysts warn this could tilt global supply chains in ways Canada might not have anticipated. Others argue these stakes are still minor. The U.S. is far from taking over Canada's mining future. Then there's the environmental and indigenous perspective. The Ambler access road cuts through ecologically sensitive regions. Indigenous groups, environmental organizations, and local communities have voiced strong opposition. Even if permits are granted, the project may face protests, lawsuits, and delays. These forces could act as a counterweight to any potential U.S. influence. And yet, the drama keeps building. Some reports suggest that additional negotiations may be happening behind closed doors. Minority stakes in other Canadian-linked mining projects, undisclosed options, private agreements. None of this has been verified, but the mere possibility fuels speculation. Is there a hidden agenda, a coordinated plan to secure critical minerals under U.S. influence while flying under the radar? It's worth emphasizing what we do know. The U.S. has invested in Canadian-linked firms like Trilogy Metals, revived permits for strategic access roads in Alaska, and taken steps to secure domestic mineral supply. Carney's government retains legal and political tools to scrutinize these investments, and Canadian sovereignty safeguards remain in place. What we do not know is far more tantalizing. Are there additional deals that haven't been disclosed? Could minority stakes give strategic leverage that isn't immediately obvious? How will these investments affect Canada's long-term control over its resources? And, crucially, could Trump's administration be orchestrating a wider plan to ensure the U.S. dominates key minerals critical for energy and defense industries worldwide? Some analysts are now asking a provocative question. Is this purely an economic investment, Or is it part of a broader U.S. strategy to edge out China and even influence Canada's future policy on resource development? After all, Canada has traditionally been a key player in supplying minerals globally. A subtle shift in ownership, even just a minority stake, could allow the U.S. to shape priorities, production schedules, and even export decisions. Then there's the human element. Sources within industry circles suggest that talks are happening in private rooms far from public scrutiny. Discussions about future joint ventures, preferential contracts, and even cross-border pipelines for critical metals. If true, these deals could quietly redefine who really has leverage over some of the world's most strategic minerals. President Mark Carney has publicly assured Canadians that sovereignty remains intact and legal frameworks like the Investment Canada Act are in place. But history shows that legal safeguards often lag behind rapid international maneuvers, especially when billions of dollars and global supply chains are at stake. Even a small minority stake could become a foothold, a lever that grows in influence over time. In short, while the headline may scream, "Trump takes over Canada's mining future," the reality is nuanced. There are clear, documented moves by the U.S. government to invest and secure strategic permits, but a full takeover of Canadian mining remains unproven. Yet the potential for influence, hidden leverage, and strategic positioning cannot be ignored. As these deals unfold, the details of warrants, governance rights, and cross-border strategies will be the real story. Canada's legal frameworks and Carney's political leadership will be tested like never before. The world is watching, markets are reacting, and insiders are talking, quietly, in the shadows. The truth is still emerging. But one thing is certain: the stakes are high, the resources are critical, and the drama has only just begun.